So today we're talking about how do you make your Neopixel do this. So in order to make sure that this works, the first thing you need to know is that you need to have a Neopixel on your board itself. It's this little white looking pixel right there. And let's head over to the computer and start actually programming this bad boy. So first thing we need to do is we're going to import board as usual, and then we also have to import the Neopixel library. Now in the Neopixel library, you're going to have to make sure that on your CircuitPy drive inside your lib folder, you do have the Neopixel MicroPython. I've got a link to that down below that you can download. The last thing we're going to do is import time just for some sleep functions. Now, we're only going to initialize one pixel for today. So I'm going to say onboard pixel is equal to neopixel.neopixel. Make sure you capitalize the P on here or you're going to end up with some errors. Open parentheses. The first argument is which pin your Neopixel is connected to. Because we're doing the onboard Neopixel today, we're going to be using board.neopixel. The second argument is how many pixels you have. So you might have one in this case, you might have a strip of 16, you might have a strip of 30, depends how many you have in that line, but I've only got one. I need to assign a brightness. If you set a brightness to 1.0, keep in mind these things are really bright. So I'll have this bright 1.0. My preference is like 0.5. Kind of depends on your lighting conditions. And the last one is auto write is equal to true. I'm going to set auto write to true, and by default it is true. What that means is that when you send a color to your Neopixel, it automatically writes that color. Now, if you have a really long string of Neopixels, if you have auto write set to true, what's going to happen is it's going to set every single pixel along the way. And if you have a strip, say, of 100 long, it's going to take almost a full second to upload every single Neopixel. But if you only have one, it should go really fast. So I'm going to do auto write true just because it makes things easier. And then it's time to actually send something to it. So I'll have a while true loop. We will grab our onboard pixel, and it takes one tuple as an argument. The first number is the red value because it's an RGB. The second value is the green value, and the third value is the blue value. So we have red, green, and blue. If I had time, let's sleep for a second, and then we'll say onboard pixel. We'll set it to green, and then we will set it to blue. All right, and then we'll do one more sleep. So if I were to save this over, we head on back to our Neopixel, we should now notice, oh, I have an error. Oops, it is onboard pixel.fill, and then that is your argument. My mistake. I forgot to actually call the argument. So onboard pixel.fill, onboard pixel.fill, and onboard pixel.fill. That would just fill every single pixel in this section. Because we only have one, we can use that. If you had a strip of 16, it would do all 16. So let's save it over, head on over to our Neopixel. And we've got red, green, and then blue. Red, green, and then blue. So pretty simple to get a Neopixel up and running. A few more things. Let's say, for instance, you had a really long Neopixel strip and you didn't want to have that auto write true. So I would set auto write to false. The last thing I have to do is before I do .fill, I'd have to do onboard pixel.show, open parentheses, close. Onboard pixel.show. And what this does is it's going to fill with a color, then it's going to show the color. So if I were to run this code right now, because I've only done show on the bottom, you're going to notice that blue is actually never going to show up. It's only going to go red, green, and then red, green. So it is actually taking blue as an argument. The problem is we're never actually calling onboard pixel.show in order for it to actually update that. So if we go back to our computer, we should see red, green, blue. Red, green, blue. Now because this is a Neopixel that works in any red, green, blue space, what you can do is you can go online and you can search for a RGB color picker, and you can find any color that you want. To find that, you just need to get your RGB values here. So let's say you really like this purple. It's got a red value of 115, a green of 58, and a blue of 201. So if I were to come up here, let's make an argument called purple, and it was 215, 50, and 105, I believe. 115, 58, and 201. So 115, 58, and 201. And if I were instead to fill this with purple, and I save this over, our first color should be that nice purple we were looking for, green and then blue. A couple other colors that will help you with this. I'll just paste these ones in. Red is obviously just pure. I've got a yellow color here, green, cyan, blue, and purple. Let's just go ahead and cycle through these. So I'll just say color list is equal to red, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple, off. And then we'll set auto right back to true. And we'll say for I in range length of our color list, we will say pixels.fill, and we'll fill it with color list at I. And we'll have a time.sleep for 1 second. And what this should do, and actually let's also print what our color list at I is. So this should just loop through all of our colors with resting a second in between. So let's save that over. Oops, it's not pixels, it's onboard pixel. Onboard pixel.fill, we'll save that over. And now we've got our onboard pixel running through at our very specific colors. And off, obviously. And that's it. That's all you need to be able to program your onboard NeoPixel.